welcome back to my channel. It's me, the Chameleon Girl, Gina. And tonight I'm going to be making a 100-year-old sausage dressing recipe that I think that if you give it a try, you're going to enjoy it. You and your family, friends, whoever you invite for dinner. The first thing that, and we're going to say cornbread sausage dressing, okay? And so anyway, the first thing that you're going to need, of course, is to go ahead and make your cornbread. We're going to use 4 cups, and this is going to serve quite a few people because we're also going to use some cubed breadcrumb type stuff. I'll show you it in a minute. But anyway, the first thing we're going to do is use this Aunt Jemima yellow cornmeal. We're going to put that up to the 4 line. And so basically when I make cornbread, you know, everybody makes theirs different. Everybody is everybody, okay? But when I make cornbread, I like to, if I'm making 2 cups of, if I'm using 2 cups of cornmeal, then I use 1 cup of flour. So however much cornmeal, I use half the amount of flour in mine, okay? And that's just how I make it. It just comes out perfect, and then it's thick like cornbread should be. Now, not only can you use this to make your dressing, but it's real good to just eat, you know. We're gonna pour in 2 cups of flour. So this is kind of just our dry ingredients that we're getting going. And we need to put in some baking soda and some salt. And usually I don't measure anything. I don't know how many of you guys, you know, watch me when I cook and stuff, but just for the sake of making sure it's right, we're gonna measure some stuff today. And so I'm gonna use 2 tablespoons of baking powder. And I'm going to use 1 tablespoon of salt. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of sugar, because that should help it brown even better. We're going to add 1 tablespoon, just that much. And it'll balance out the salt too. Just kind of enhance the flavor. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to stir our dry ingredients all together. So on this cooking oil, I'm going to take and I'm going to coat the bottom of that pan. And I'm gonna put this pan in the oven on, like, we're gonna say probably 425. Okay, so that should be, that's about a cup, a whole cup. This is, I think this is about the biggest cast iron skillet that you could purchase. So anyway, we're gonna pop this in the oven and let that get real nice and hot for me, and you'll see why in just a moment. So let me just go ahead. And you know, if you like your dressing with less salt or more sweet, now those 2 things are gonna be up to you. I don't like Jiffy for this. I like Jiffy actually, but not for what I'm doing today. Now, I'm gonna start with 2 cups of milk. And I'm just gonna 2 1/4 cup of milk. So I'm gonna fill this above the 2 line because I know that I'm gonna need more I'm gonna need even more than that, but this is where we're gonna start at. We're gonna pour that in. And add our wet ingredients. 3 eggs. You can beat them first if you want, but you don't have to. But just make sure you don't crack them directly into your cornmeal, or like I always say, even if you're making a happy birthday to you cake, don't do that. You know what I mean? Because you're taking a chance of getting a shell all up in there, and if you do, you can't see it. Like if I put it in there, that's basically white and the shell is white. So then what? I'm stuck. So I'm going to take 3 eggs. And actually, I'm going to give those a slight stir. But like I said, you don't have to. It's fine, yeah. The next thing that we're going to do is add our oil. And yeah, I'm gonna sit here and add a bunch of oil. So this is not for the faint at heart or people who are like scared that they're gonna gain weight. So that's about, that may be 3/4 cup of oil, because I want this real moist. And as I begin to stir this, what I'm going to do is get my skillet going so it can start getting hot, so we can move on to the next part. I'm gonna just stir that good clockwise, then go back counterclockwise. And you know what? This 2 1/4 cup of milk, it appears to be the consistency that I like. But because I didn't have my oil in the oven before, then I want to add just a little drop more, 1/3 cup, okay? Because as it sits, then it'll thicken and stuff, and I don't want it real thick at all. I want it kind of like a pancake. The next thing that we're gonna do is in a skillet, a large skillet, the largest one that you can have. If you don't have a real large skillet, go ahead and use a pot, not a stock pot or anything, but just a pot, okay? And then take about, this is a fattening recipe, so I don't, you know what I mean? This is not for people on diets or, you know what I mean, or whatever. So I'm just gonna wipe this off with my clean tea towel. This is where I had measured before. And then I should have another one. So we could do a couple of measurements so I can show you guys. So in here, I already had just a little bit of bacon oil. If I would have had more bacon oil, then I would have definitely utilized it. Because this is a rich recipe, very, very rich. And I have the cornmeal that I didn't like. There's no need to throw it away. It's just the texture of it. But we're going to be using that tonight to go along because I let it get stale. Stale cornbread makes for the best dressing, okay? So if you got time to cook it like tonight, for instance, do that and let it sit all day tomorrow, and then, you know, it should be good. But anyway, I'm going to be using 2 rolls of Jimmy Dean sausage. One is going to be the hot and spicy one, which I don't know, it just does something, the mixture of it. It's like a hint of maple with the spiciness of the hot sausage. I don't know what it does, but it do something to them taste buds, you know. And this is the type of dressing that, like, if you have friends and family who are like not into stuffing, whatever, if you call it that, or dressing, or, you know, whatever you call it, and they just don't like it, this is the one that they're gonna like. I'm not saying that just because it's my recipe. But what I am saying is that I have had people who they don't like dressing, you know, because it's just, dressing is just something that if you like it, you love it. If you don't, then you just don't like it. But anyway, I'm just going to take and put that in there. You don't have to do this much, but I'm making an extra dish for somebody who hates dressing. But when I said, have you ever had sausage dressing? They was like, no, but I sure would love to. So I'm making it for a friend of mine. That's why I'm doing so much. So as you brown this, you know, I have the oils in there. What I like to do, because you want the sausage to be pretty fine. You don't want big meatballs up in your dressing, okay? So I like to add a half a cup of water when I'm frying it, and no, I'm not losing any flavors in case you're wondering, but it makes it cook more evenly when you add a little bit of water and faster. So what I'm gonna do, that's cooking pretty high, but I got the water in there, so it's kind of like simmering it. I'm gonna add a little bit more of the hot sausage because you want it to be like kind of like meaty-ish, but not overwhelmed with sausage like you're just eating, you know, just breakfast sausage. But anyway, you do want to have a nice amount in there, so we're gonna add a little bit more. While we're doing that, what I want to do is turn on, well no, I'm going to get a cup of hot water because in a minute I'm going to add some other ingredients. And I want this to almost be like a soup sauce type deal, that when I go to make my dressing, all I'm going to do is just pour it all in there and stir it, mix it with my hands and everything, and let the flavors get married together. So as we're doing that, we're going to check in the oven and see how that oil is looking. I don't know if it's hot enough for me and my preference, but it looks like it. Actually it does. Okay. So we're going to give our cornmeal mixture just one more mix. And we're going to go quick and pour this on in here. That's already, that's kind of frying. And that's the beauty of doing it this way, having your oil in there heating. See how it's frying nicely around those edges? But it was not going to overflow, guys. Because that would that'd be a terrible thing. So anyway, we'll let that cook. We're going to come back once this is done, and we're going to add in our next ingredients. So I'll be back in a minute. So now what we have done, I'm going to show you, is that the liquids have absorbed. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take, and I'm going to start out with 6 bouillon cubes, okay? And you can crunch these up if you want, however you want to do it. But the reason why I'm adding that is because I don't have the broth from a turkey. I didn't make a turkey yet, so I don't have the broth from that. And so I'm just going to kind of make a broth myself. And then I'm going to add in 1 cup, 2 cups, 3 cups of water to it. And that broth, and as you guys can see how finely ground that meat was, that's what you want, okay? The next thing I'm going to do is take a paper towel, clean and wet, and I'm going to take 1 can of not low fat either, but cream of chicken soup. You're going to take and add that into your sauce. It's not even a sauce. I don't even know what this is. I have never really had a word for what this is called, but you're going to add it in here. Make it real good and flavorful. So then you're going to mash that into there. But anyway, I want that cooking at a higher temperature, and I want another cup of water, so now I'm up to 4 cups. Okay, guys? Because your bread is going to suck up everything. So I'm low on parsley flakes, but I want to add them. Because you want the pretty green vegetable flavorings and all that. And as I'm looking at this, what I want to do is I'm going to have a couple of spoons out because I want to taste and see where my salt level is from those bouillon cubes, okay? Okay. So that's a good flavor. But of course, we're still not done. So the next thing that we're going to do is start adding our trinity of vegetables. We're going to start with bell pepper, and I just don't have enough bell pepper. But this is not the only dressing I'm making. I'm just making this for you guys to be able to kind of get an idea of how I make it. And then I'm going to add my celery. And you know, a step that I kind of am thinking that I missed is usually I would have browned this with this. As soon as my sausage was done, then I would have threw it in there and just browned it right quick with it. Because then the flavors, you know, they really start coming out. And then plenty of onion. You can use less onion than this. So this is about, I think that's a whole bell pepper, a half a stalk of celery, and 2 onions, okay? Now I'm gonna add all of my seasonings, but I see that this water is going down a little bit. If you guys can notice around the side, it was a little higher, and I got this cooking pretty high, so I want a little bit more water in there. We're gonna say half a cup, okay? Now, the first thing I want in there is some accent. That's maybe 2 tablespoons. You can do less sage, but you know, you're looking for flavorful dressing. You're not looking for nothing that you know, everybody is like, where's the salt shaker? Okay, and so I didn't have that much celery, so I'm gonna add some celery flakes. I'm gonna add a bunch of them. That's probably about 3 tablespoons of celery flakes. Then I want some onion powder, and I want to go nuts with my onion powder. I want plenty of onion powder. Okay. So to taste, okay, that's the most important thing, to taste. And I'm using powders instead of like garlic salt and onion salt because we already have the salt in those bouillon cubes. And I'm not heavy on the garlic in my dressing in particular, but do it if you want. Then I'm going to add a little minced garlic. This is, that's 1.5 teaspoons. I'm going to add some actual garlic. And we want some black pepper in there. How much black pepper? 2 teaspoons. Because remember, we already have, and that one was heaping, so I'm going to do like that. That first one was, we already have the spiciness from that sausage, okay? So we're just going to let those flavors go ahead and marry up, get married. And then we'll do the last step, which is break them up. And as far as the cornbread is concerned, when you're cooking it at a higher temperature, you want to cook it about, when you're cooking more, I'm trying to say, you want to cook it at about 425 degrees. But you can see like all that is nothing but flavor. Look at this cornbread, guys. Let me show you. Look how pretty that is. And it's not dry. You know, even though I haven't put butter all over it and stuff, that's not a dry cornbread. But it would be great if it was already stale, but because it's not already stale, then what I'm gonna do, when I go to mix it, I'm gonna use a little bit of the stale one, that the meal that I didn't like, mixed with this one. So I'm just going to use a little bit of that. What I'm going to do is wait for these vegetables to soften up. And once they soften up and become translucent, then I'm going to begin to mix it. So I'm going to cut this probably in half, this cornbread. I'm going to take it and break it down, and I will be back to show you the rest. Okay guys, so now our vegetables and our sausage and everything is pretty much married. And it's very flavorful, but the one thing that I did want to add is some white ground pepper. I've been cooking with this for about a year now, and I'm loving it. Now we're just gonna go right in, and you can use a spoon if you feel like taking a year to just do like that. But anyway, I'm going right in with my clean hands, and I'm just gonna start mashing up the bread. And I got some good crispy pieces in here too. So now the next thing that you wanna do is you want to add in a bag of this, but my mom usually would use she would take out a loaf of bread, or maybe even a whole loaf, depending on how much dressing she's cooking. And she would take honey, and she would let it get hard and stale, and then break it all up and put it in there. But I'm a little lazy for that part. But y'all could do that, because it makes it even better. So the next thing that I'm gonna do is the finishing touches, which is take this. Oh my gosh, I need some paprika. Give me this. Oh, here. You want some paprika in all that you cook. I mean, I do. You know, I like color. Anyway, now we got the color. So I'm gonna try to pick this up because I'm so weak in my arm. And I'm gonna start pouring it right on here. I'm gonna pour half of this mixture and then see how it's looking. No, I'm pouring more than half, guys, so excuse me. That's more than half. I'm gonna put that on that back burner. I don't want that to cook no longer. I'm not dealing with that no more. I'm over here messing with this. What I'm gonna do is add a little more water. That's all I got is a little bit more water, because I see that I'm gonna need it. But I just want some regular water. And then I'm gonna get a metal spoon. Thank you. My husband, he don't share his recipe, not even with me. I don't know why he's like that. He's stingy with his recipes, guys. And my mom, she barely shared hers. How I found out how she cooked this, she'd just be like, a little bit of this, and a little of that. Just take a pinch, an assy bit, saying words that I didn't understand. And I could already tell I need more water. So my water gets real hot at my house, so I'm gonna turn it on and let it be running. So that in a minute, cause this, see that would make this would be some dry dressing. Right here, that'd be dry. Covered, uncovered, that stuff is gonna be dry. This is the texture that we want. If I leaned it to the side, you don't want to see a whole bunch of juice down in there either. So you want it to be absorbing that, but you don't want it to be, I want you guys to listen for that sound. Okay, as I kind of stir it, you can hear that is the sound of it. And I want some more water, that's another cup. Remember, with the water, you can't take it back. Can't take it out. Can put it in slowly though. Now we want a little bit more paprika because I'm seeing that I want that color to come in more. And it doesn't matter how much paprika you guys use. And the reason why I say that is because, I'm sorry, but to me, paprika just doesn't have a flavor. I know it's like all these different kinds and, you know, all this different Hungarian smoke, this, that. But it's not a flavor, I don't. But anyway, not to me, I can't taste it. And we're about at the right consistency right about now. And remember, guys, we have the butter in there. We have the bacon oil. That's all that is nothing but flavor. That's nothing but flavor. We have the bouillon cubes, flavor. And earlier I had said there's no way to fix it if you did add too much liquids. But there is a way, and that's to add more bread, but I don't want to do that. And I'm gonna bake this at 350 degrees for about 1 hour. Now, when it's the night of Thanksgiving, I'm going, which is, you know, the eve of Thanksgiving, I'm baking mine all night long on 250 degrees. I'll bake it real low as I have my turkey bacon. Remember, we added another teaspoon of sage, guys. I don't like mine perfect where I was to rub it like that because I don't know. I like the little peaks and valley parts in mine dressing. Okay, so now I'm gonna cover this with aluminum foil if I can get, let me get the aluminum foil, guys. Hi. So yeah, I don't bake my dressing for 30 minutes. I mean, I guess you can, you know, I don't know, that's on you. But anyway, we're gonna bake this for an hour. And then after 45 minutes, I'm gonna take the top off. I'm gonna turn it up to 3, and I'm gonna bake it on 350. You know, black people bake everything on 350 no matter what the directions say, so do that. And then I'm gonna come back, turn it up to like 375 to 400 for 10 or 15 minutes, and let it just get brown on the top, but never dry. So I'll see y'all in a minute when it's done, and we'll sample it together. Hi everybody, I am, guess what, done with the dressing. This dressing came out good. Here it go right here. I just pulled it out the oven, and notice it burned. Just kidding, guys. It didn't burn, but this is how it should look. Nice and brown, but nice and moist. And just serve it up and slop it up with some cranberry sauce. Hey! But that's the sausage dressing. Crispy, if you'll notice, guys, crispy on the outside and on the top. And you can cook it for less time, you can cook it for longer. If you cook it for longer, make sure that you have it on like 250 degrees if you want to do it over the course, like overnight, how I'm going to do my actual dressing. And make sure you use that good old, some of that good old chicken or turkey broth, and put that into your flavorful, you know, married together sausage and vegetables and seasonings, and let it all get married and add some water to it. But at the, excuse me, at the end of the day, this came out really good, and I'm gonna taste it. And I'm gonna see if I like it. But it has to be moist for me, because I don't want nobody's dry dressing. And it's hot, and I can't eat hot food, so I gotta blow this for 5 minutes, so hold on. Mmm. Woo! Fire. Fire. Mm-hmm. Shit is fire. Excuse me. Excuse my language, but it is good. I'm gonna open a can of cranberry sauce to go with it, but it's good though. Okay, before I let you all go, please do me a favor. Like, comment, share, subscribe to my channel so that we can keep up with cooking our holiday meals together. All right, enjoy the rest of your time, and leave me some comments as to what your favorite sides are, because I just want to know, because I'm nosy. All right, give me some suggestions, and enjoy the rest of your night. God bless, guys.